Finding joy is pretty hard to do if you are always chasing after the next big thing without appreciating where you are in the present. With this wonderful thought, a very good morning to all my dear students. I hope that you all are in good health. This is Shreya Jadhav welcoming you all to my e-learning channel. So today we are going to learn English Grade 9 Supplementary Reading Unit 3 Iswaran the Storyteller, written by R.K. Lakshman. So, before starting with the reading and explanation of the chapter, let us know something about the author. Rasipuram Krishnaswamy Iyer Lakshman, born on 24th October 1921, died on 26th January 2015, was an Indian cartoonist, illustrator and humorist. He is best known for his creation The Common Men and for his daily cartoon strip You Said It in Times of India, which started in 1951. He had received many awards like Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan, Lifetime Achievement Award for Journalism, Pune Pandit Award for Creative Communication. Lakshman started his career as a part-time cartoonist, working mostly for local newspapers and magazines. As a college student, he illustrated his elder brother R.K. Narayan's stories in The Hindu. His first full-time job was a political cartoonist for the Free Press journals in Mumbai. And lately he joined the Times of India. So now let us move ahead to the introduction for answers. Dear students, always remember one thing, that whenever you write question answers for your examination purpose or for test purpose, you are supposed to start your answers with introduction. So here it is. Prose name Iswaran the Storyteller. Author's name R.K. Lakshman. Genre short story. Summary. One night Mahendra woke up from his sleep and saw a dark cloudy form. He broke out into cold sweat. Was it a ghost? So now let us know the theme of the story and let us discuss in brief the summary of the chapter. Nobody is free of fears. Everybody accepts the presence of ghosts and spirits, but feels hesitant to express this truth openly. If fear lies in our heart, we should try to know the proper cause of this fear. In fear, we may take some wrong decisions and put our life in problems. Therefore, we have to be bold enough to take good decisions in all circumstances. Iswaran. This story is narrated to Ganesh by a young man, Mahendra. Mahendra was a supervisor in a firm which offered to hire supervisors at the construction sites. The nature of his job was to move from one place to another place. He had Iswaran, his cook, as an asset. Iswaran cooked for Mahendra, washed his clothes, and chatted away with his master at night. He read Tamil stories and it affected him so much that even the smallest incident, like a fallen tree, appeared to him a busy beast. He waved daily a new story full of thrill and horror to Mahendra. He played a role of TV in Mahendra's life. Once he told Mahendra a story about a tusker. The tusker escaped from the timber yard and began to roam about. He moved here and there, destroying and beating anyone who came his way. Ultimately, it reached Iswaran's school. Everyone was watching his activities of destruction, and it was beyond control. Ishwaran grabbed a can from the teacher's hand and faced the mad tusker boldly. He hit him on his third toenail and it shivered from head to toe and collapsed. At this point, he would leave the story. On one auspicious day, he weaved a story about a ghost. Mahendra chid him for such nonsense stories and told him that there was no such type of stories, but our imagination only. After a few days, Mahendra heard some sound close to his window at night. He thought it to be a cat prowling around for mice, but when he opened and peeped from the window, he saw some cloudy figure clutching a bundle. Mahendra could not sleep that night. In the morning, Ishwaran smilingly asked him about the sound and the woman ghost. Mahendra was so upset that he resolved to leave the haunted place the very next day. So, this is a short summary of the whole chapter. Now, let us start the reading and explanation of the chapter. The story is narrated to Ganesh by a young man, Mahendra by name. He was a junior supervisor in a firm which offered on hire supervisors at various types of construction sites, factories, bridges, dams, and so on. Mahendra's job was to keep an eye on the activities at work site. He had to keep moving from place to place every now and then, as ordered by his head office, from a coal mining area to a railway bridge construction site. From there, after a few months, to a chemical plant which was coming up somewhere. So, in the introduction, the story is being narrated, means it has been told to Ganesh, and Mahendra is telling the story. Now, Mahendra was a junior supervisor in one of the firm. Wherever they were in need of supervisor, Mahendra would be sent over there. He had worked in types of different construction sites like factories and bridges and dams and so on. His job was to keep an eye on all the activities and what the workers are working upon on the work site. He used to travel a lot from one place to another, as it was being ordered by the head office. Now it would be from a coal mining to the railway bridge construction and few months also in the chemical plant. He was a bachelor. His needs were simple and he was able to adjust himself to all kinds of odd conditions, whether it was an ill equipped circuit house or a makeshift canvas tent in the middle of stone quarry. But one asset he had was his cook, Ishwaran. The cook was quite attached to Mahendra and followed him uncomplainingly wherever he was posted. He cooked for Mahendra, washed his clothes, and chatted away with his master at night. He could weave out endless stories of anecdotes and varied subjects. So over here Mahendra was a bachelor. His needs were very simple. He would adjust in all kind of odd condition, whether it is a house to live or whether it is just a tent to live. But one thing which was with him always, and he would consider that as an asset, that was Ishwaran. Ishwaran was the cook of Mahendra, and Ishwaran was also very much attached to Mahendra. Moreover, to that, he would never complain, but he would go everywhere where Mahendra would go. Ishwaran's work was to cook food for him, to wash his clothes, and even he would love to chat with his master. Ishwaran also had an amazing capacity to produce vegetables and cooking ingredients seemingly out of nowhere in the middle of desolate landscape with no shops visible for miles around. He would miraculously conjure upon the most delicious dishes made with fresh vegetables within an hour of arriving at the zinc sheet shelter at new workplace. Mahendra would be up early in the morning and leave for the work after breakfast, carrying some prepared food for him. Meanwhile, Ishwaran would tidy up the shade, wash the clothes, and have a leisurely bath, pouring several buckets of water over his head, muttering prayers for a while. It would be the lunch time by then. After eating, he would read for a while before dozing off. The book was usually some popular Tamil thriller running to hundreds of pages. Its imaginative descriptions and narrative flourishes would hold Ishwaran in thrills. So, usually, the time schedule which they used to follow was Mahendra would no have breakfast and then he would move to his workplace, and after a certain time duration Ishwaran would know have had cleaned up the house, washed Mahendra's clothes, then he would have a leisurely bath, and moreover to that, after that, he would, in the afternoon time, would read Tamil thrillers, which were of hundreds of pages. Ishwaran was a really good cook because he would always have or he would be able to find those ingredients which were not available in the nearby place, and still he would cook the best. His own descriptions were greatly influenced by the Tamil authors that he read. He was narrating even the smallest of incidents. He could try to work in suspense and a surprise ending into the account. For example, instead of saying that he had come across an uprooted tree on the highway, he would say, with eyebrows suitably arched and hands held out in a dramatic gesture, the road was deserted and I was all alone. Suddenly, I spotted something that looked like an enormous bushy beast lying sprawled across the road. I was half inclined to turn and go back. But as I came closer, I saw that it was a fallen tree, with its dry branches spread out. Mahendra would stretch himself back in the canvas chair and listen to Ishwaran's tales uncritically. So over here, no, Ishwaran was a very dramatic person because he would majorly read the Tamil writers and more dramatic work, and this was, we can say, not bothered by Mahendra also. He used to love and he used to love to listen to the stories which were being said. Over here, one small incident has been given that, for example, if a small tree was fallen on the road, Ishwaran would also say that particular thing in such a dramatic manner that it would seem like a story. and he was always fascinated about this thing. The place I came from is famous for timber. Ishwaran would begin. There is a richly wooded forest all around. The logs are hauled onto the lorries by elephants. They are huge, well fed beasts. When they turn wild, even the most experienced Mahout is not able to control them. After this prologue, Ishwaran would launch into an elaborate anecdote involving an elephant. Now, one another incident is also being shared, because Ishwaran is coming from a place where timber is more famous, where elephants are being hauled up onto the lorries of the logs. And then he would start one of his very interesting description related to elephant in the story. One day a tusker escaped from the timber yard and began to roam about, stamping on bushes, tearing up wild creepers and breaking branches at will. You know, sir, how an elephant behaves when it goes mad. Ishwaran would get so caught up in the excitement of his own story that he would get up from the floor and jump about, stamping his feet in emulation of the mad elephant. The elephant reached the outskirts of our own town, breaking the fences down like matchsticks. He would continue. It came into the main road and smashed all the stalls selling fruits, mud pots, and clothes. People ran helter and shelter in panic. The elephant now entered a school ground where children were playing, breaking through the brick wall. All the boys ran into the classroom and shut their doors tight. The beast grunted and wandered about, pulling out the football goal post, tearing round the volleyball net, kicking and flattening the drum kept for water, the uprooting shrubs. Meanwhile, all the teachers had climbed up to the terrace of the school building. From there, they helplessly watched the depredations of the elephant. There was not a soul below on the ground. The streets were empty, as if the inhabitants of the entire town had suddenly disappeared. So you can see over here how description is given about the incident. Once the elephant ran away from a timber log place and entered the village. He was mad, and he just entered into the school premises, broke all the fences, and just entered and started destroying everything, the football net, including the volleyball net, and including the shrubs which he uprooted. He was very angry. All the students have locked themselves up in the classroom, and all the teachers have gathered themselves on the terrace, and they were looking that how this elephant was creating a menace in the whole village or in the city. Now there was no person outside because everyone feared about this mad elephant. I was studying in the junior class at that time and was watching the whole drama from the rooftop. I don't know what came over me suddenly. I grabbed a can from the hands of one of the teachers and ran down the stairs and into the open. The elephant grunted and menacingly swung its branch of tree which it held in its trunk. I stamped its feet, kicking up a lot of mud and dust. It looked frightening, but I moved slowly towards it, stick in the hand. People were watching the scene, hypnotized from nearby housetops. Elephant looked at me red-eyed, ready to rush towards me. It lifted its trunk and tramped loudly. At that moment, I moved forward and mustering all my force, wagged its third toenail on the quick. The beast looked stunned for a moment, then it shivered from head to foot and collapsed. At this point, Ishwaran would leave the story unfinished and would get up mumbling, "I'll be back after lighting the gas and warming up the dinner." Mahindra, who had been listening with rapt attention, would be left hanging. When he returned, Ishwaran would pick up a thread of story right away. Mahindra would have to remind him that the conclusion was pending. Well, a veterinary doctor was summoned to revive the animal. Ishwaran would shrug casually. 2 days later, it was led away by its mahout to the jungle. Well, how did you manage to do it, Ishwaran? How did you bring down the beast? It has something to do with a Japanese art, I think, sir. Karate or Jujutsu, it is called. I had read about it somewhere. It temporarily paralyzes the nervous system, you see. Not a day passed without Ishwaran's recounting some stories packed with adventure, horror, and suspense. Whether the story was credible or not, Mahindra enjoyed listening to it because of the inimitable way in which it was told. Ishwaran seemed more than make up for the absence of the TV in Mahindra's living quarter. So now over here he would not say the stories in such a dramatic mannerism. And then in the middle he would leave the story and then he would do his work. And then Mahindra was left wondering what eventually happened. And then again Mahindra no made him remember that he was supposed to conclude the story. And then whether the end was thrilling enough or not, but still Mahindra used to love it. And then it seemed like Ishwaran was replacing television in the life of Mahindra. One morning when Mahindra was having breakfast, Ishwaran asked, "Can I make something special for dinner tonight, sir? After all, today is an auspicious day. According to tradition, we prepare various delicious delicacies to feed the spirits of our ancestors today, sir." That night, Mahindra enjoyed the most delicious dinner and complimented Ishwaran for his culinary skill. He seemed very pleased, but unexpectedly launched into the most garish account involving the supernatural. "You know, sir, this entire factory area we are occupying was once a burial ground," he started. Mahindra was cheered out of the pleasant revive he had drifted into after the satisfying meal. "I knew on the first day itself when I saw a human skull lying on the path. Even now I come across number of skulls and bones," Ishwaran counted. You can see over here the picture. Ishwaran is holding a bag and he has seen plenty of skulls and bones. He went on to narrate how he sometimes saw ghosts at night. "I am not easily frightened by these things, sir. I am a brave fellow. But one horrible ghost of a woman which appears off and at the midnight during the full moon. It is an ugly creature with matted hair and a shriveled face, like a skeleton holding a fetus in its arms." Now, eventually, what happened? One fine day in the morning, Ishwaran is telling that today is an auspicious day and we are supposed to offer good food to our ancestors. So, the dinner which was prepared was way more delicious. Then Ishwaran started up with his story, and today's topic was to create plenty of humor and thrill. And he started up telling up a ghost story that the place that they are living was a place which was totally covered or was one time a burial place, and he has seen plenty of skulls, and there was a horrible ghost of a woman who appears at the midnight during the full moon. and it was like a skeleton who was holding a fetus in its arms. Mahendra shivered at the description and interrupted rather sharply. You are crazy, Ishwaran. There are no such things as ghosts or spirits. It is all a figment of your imagination. Get your digestive system examined and maybe your head as well. You are talking nonsense. He left the room and retired for the night, expecting Ishwaran to sulk for a couple of days. But the next morning he was surprised to find the cook as cheerful and talkative as ever. From that day on, Mahendra, for all his brave talk, went to bed with certain unease. Every night he peered into darkness outside through the window next to his bed, trying to make sure that there was no movement of dark sharps shapes in the vicinity. But he could see sea of darkness with the twinkling lights of the factory miles away. So now what happened when he was trying to interrupt and trying to say this story? At that time duration, Mahindra was really much irritated and he told Ishwaran to shut up with this all stories because this was not real. He thought that no, Ishwaran would be upset and would not say anything, would not talk to him, but Ishwaran was very cheerful the next very day. But after that day onwards, it was very difficult for Mahendra to sleep at night because he was constantly having that mindset that something or some dark shapes were not making any sort of movements. He had always liked to admire the milk white landscape on full moon nights, but after hearing Ishwaran's story of female ghost, he avoided looking out of his window altogether when the moon was full. One night Mahendra was woken up by his sleep by a low moan close to his window. At first he put it down to a cat prowling around for mice, but the sound was too guttural for a cat. He resisted the curiosity to look out lest he should behold a sight which would stop his heart. But the wailing became louder and less feline. He could not resist the temptation any more. Lowering himself to the level of the window's sill, he looked out at the white sheet of moonlight outside. There, not too far away, was a dark, cloudy form clutching a bundle. Mahendra broke into a cold sweat and fell back on the pillow, panting. As he gradually recovered from the hastily experience, he began to reason with himself and finally concluded that it must have been some sort of autosuggestion, some trick that his subconscious had played on him. By the time he had got up in the morning, had a bath, and came out to have his breakfast, the horror of the previous night had faded from his memory. Ishwaran greeted him at the door with his lunch packet and his bag. Just as Mahendra was stepping out, Ishwaran grinned and said, "Sir, remember the other day I was telling you about the female ghost with a fetus in its arms? You were so angry with me for imagining things. Well, you saw her yourself last night. I came running, hearing the sound of mourning that was coming from your room." A chill went down Mahendra's spine. He did not wait for Ishwaran to complete his sentence. He hurried away to his office and handed his paper, resolving to leave the haunted place the very next day. So at the end, what happened? He saw on full moon night he used to enjoy the view outside the whole scenario. But when Ishwaran told him about the ghost, he was being more tempered and not to look outside. At first, he got some sounds. he thought that it might be of cat prowling for a mice, but that seemed to him a bit unnatural. It was not possible for them to do this thing. When he looked outside, low on the window, he saw that there was a cloudy figure, and it was a woman's ghost. And he was so much shocked and thrilled and very much up to tension, that he was so much frightened with that thing that he slept very slightly. And the very next day in the morning, at first he thought that all this is just mere imagination of his subconscious mind. But next day in the morning, when he got up, he bathed, and when he came for the breakfast, and at the time when he was leaving, at that time duration, Ishwaran told that yesterday when he saw him, yes, once he told the story of that ghost appeared the previous night also. And moreover to that, he came to knew this because Mahendra was making some sort of sounds. He was imagining ghost, and he saw that he remembered him. And at that time duration, the sound of morning was also coming, and a chill went under Mahendra's spine. And he, without even Ishwaran completing his sentence, he just hurried to his office, and he just handed his papers, and he asked for a transfer to some other place, because he wanted to leave the job. He was really very frightened of the ghost. So this is all about an interesting story, Ishwaran the Storyteller by R.K. Lakshman. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. I hope that you all have understood it. If you still have any doubt or queries, you can comment down in the comment section. Have a great day, everyone.